The problem may not be immediate, the problem may not be today, but in the long run, next few months, next few years, that's what we're talking. So the first ratio is called the total debt ratio. So the formula of this total debt ratio is, so you have total liabilities divided by total assets.
And this is total debt?
Total debt. Okay, so what's the logic behind this? The logic is we want to know, hey, our firm has, say, 1 billion in total assets. Okay, cash and buildings and inventory and you name it. Okay? How much is coming from lenders and vendors and outsiders? So what's the amount of loans? These are loans. When you owe money to vendors, that's a loan from your vendors. Okay? So total liability is maybe 2 billion. So what does it mean? It means that for each $1 billion the firm has, this will not happen, I'm exaggerating it. The firm will have gone bankrupt much before this point. For each $1 billion, for each $1 the firm has, the firm owes $2. They have $1, they owe $2. So generally you're going to see this to be less than 1. Okay? So maybe something like this. So they have $1 in assets and they owe 50 cents to their lenders and vendors and everyone else. Okay, so you're looking for a lower number for this ratio. So here is a warning to you. Don't always assume the higher a ratio value, the better the firm performance. No. In some cases, the higher, the better. In some cases, the low. In this case, the lower a ratio value, the lower this ratio value, the better the firm performance. Okay, so let's go back. Okay. So this is total debt. So click here in this box, in this cell D9. So let me pull it down. Equal sign. Click on balance sheet. Look for total liabilities. Do you see total liabilities in row 35? Okay, so click on B35. B35. Slash total assets. Scroll up and look for total assets. Do you see in row 21? So B21. So it's a B35 divided by B21. And this is what you have. Okay, so once again, as you can see, surprisingly, they're very close to the industry average. And one reason is JCPenney is sinking and so is the rest of the industry. That's a simple explanation that I have. So very close. Okay, so 83 cents. So how do you interpret this? For each $1 they have, they owe how much? 83 cents. Okay, and the industry owes 81 cents. So they are a little bit higher. Remember, the higher, the worse. The higher this ratio, the worse the firm is. Okay, so the next thing, we'll just copy this. Copy this here. Okay. So they are improving. You can see here they're improving, right? So it was a lot higher, 86 cents. So they are bringing it down. They're trying to bringing it down. And we want to, okay, how do I copy these? I don't want to type these cross-sectional. This is what I'm gonna do, highlight this, scroll it and copy it down. Of course, I'll get, a bunch of gibberish here, which is meaningless. So I'm gonna delete this part here. So highlight this, delete it. Okay, so this prevents me from having to retype the formula. So what I did, just highlight this and copy it down. And because you have blank, rows, it will produce some, messages here. So what does it mean? This ratio is 3.2% higher than the industry average. And remember, the higher the ratio, this ratio, the worse. So they're very close. That's what I'm saying. They're close to the industry average. And this ratio has declined by about 2%, which is not significant. So the trend line is, more or less stable. It's not a significant decline. We are looking for a decline of more than 10%. It's a decline of only 2 or 3%. All right? Any questions? So far, it doesn't look like JCPenney is gonna go. Remember, our limitation is we are using only the ratios provided in the textbook. We are not going beyond those ratios. So looking at these ratios, hey, I don't see any problem with JCPenney, or I don't see any reason why JCPenney will not survive, because they are quite close to the industry average. Okay, but if I dig deeper, the story could be different. Okay, one more ratio and then we'll stop. Debt equity. Okay, so now the debt equity ratio here, this ratio here, we focus on here total liabilities, if you recall, is current, which is short term, and long term debt. So what we do here is we ignore current liabilities and focus on long term debt in the numerator. Okay, so we throw away current liabilities. Why? Because we want to focus on long term sources of funding. Okay, long-term debt divided by owner's equity or stockholders' equity, same thing. Owners, stockholders' equity. Okay, so what's the contrast? The ratio provides a contrast. What's the contrast? The contrast is funds coming from lenders versus funds coming from shareholders. Long-term funds, long-term funds. Once again, we want this ratio to be smaller. The smaller this ratio, the lower this ratio, the safer you can say the firm is. The greater the chances that the firm will survive. Okay, so for example, I can say long-term debt is 1,000. Okay, shareholders' equity is 5,000. Okay, $5,000 coming from owners, and only 1,000 coming from long-term lenders. Okay, so this ratio will be what, 20%? So, which is not bad. Which means for every $1 coming from owners, you're borrowing approximately 20 cents. Okay, so this is what the idea is. So let's complete this. Okay, so here, click inside this box, equal sign.
Wait, I can't.
Oh, I'm sorry. Equal sign. Balance sheet. Look for long-term debt. Long-term debt is in row 31, B31, divided by, scroll down, owner's equity or shareholders' equity.
Total shareholders' equity?
Yes. Row 43, B43. So B31 divided by B43. Okay? So look at this problem now. Now a problem has begun to surface, which is, okay, so how do you interpret this? It could be a serious problem. JCPenney has been borrowing more than their counterparts, than their industry peers. So how do you interpret 1.49? Put 1 underneath 1.49. $1 is coming from owners and $1.49 coming from long-term lenders. The industry average. For JCPenney, $1 coming from owners, how much is coming from lenders? $2.73, much, much higher. And remember, loans, the surest way to sink is to keep borrowing more and more, which is what JCPenney has been doing. So how will it end? The story will end very badly. How? One of these quarters, JCPenney is not going to be able to pay interest on its loans, and lo and behold, those lenders, they will foreclose on JCPenney's assets, and there goes JCPenney. This is how the story ends. They will, approach a court, trying to get their money back, and JCPenney is going to have to file for bankruptcy, and that will be the beginning of the end for JCPenney. So this is the problem. Too much. Why were they borrowing too much? Because they were losing too much money. Okay? In order to continue to operate, they had to borrow money. They had to pay wages. They have to pay their bills. They have to buy stuff, merchandise. And since they were not producing any cash inside, they had to go outside to borrow money. All right, we'll stop here and we'll resume it. Remember, one more time, your test, first test is on the Wednesday of next week. Bring the Scantron, type B Scantron. It'll be on 3 chapters, 1, 2, and 3. And I'll provide you a brief review next Monday. So hopefully we can, wrap it up on Wednesday, if not next Monday.